Welcome to the podcast from the St. Louis Sportists, an occasionally smart, always irreverent look at sports in St. Louis and beyond. And now, your St. Louis Sportists.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the St. Louis Sportists podcast. My name is Ron Cook, and I am joined by Keith Farrell.
Good to be back.
And Jason Sellers.
Good to be here, guys.
Doug, Joe, and Tom are on assignment, and Keith, with that sort of manpower, I think it has to be a very important assignment.
Yeah, I can't understand why what would take precedent over something like this.
I'm looking forward to we're a results-oriented business, so I'm looking forward to seeing what's going to come of this. In this edition, the Cardinals season is on the edge, and it reveals a bit of a split personality. Florida Panthers cannot be denied. The winner in the U.S. Open at Oakmont is Oakmont. Will Omaha once again be Geauxmaha? All this and Jell-O Shots, as well as a new feature coming up. The St. Louis Sportists are brought to you by First Coast Steel Building. Call Jason, at First Coast at 912-314-4848 or 1stcoaststeel.com. Again, that's the number 1stcoaststeel.com. And we'll hear more from them, actually directly from Jason, later in the show. We are coming to you tonight from the Local House Bistro Studios, our studio sponsors. And on Monday night, a select few of us actually saw the newly installed dartboards at the Bistro. Dylan gave us a tour of the new area in the back, and Keith, the slot machines are on the way. Yes. So come in and check out these new additions, or if you prefer, head to the main bar area, where you'll still find those 7 screens featuring your St. Louis Cardinals and St. Louis City, where you will never miss a play at the Local House Bistro. Menu is fantastic. There's still music on the patio, steaks, pastas, fish, great selection of appetizers, bar favorites, burgers, pizzas, lots of apps. Those pretzel bites, man, those still can't be beat. I've been doing the lobster bites lately, Keith. They're good for my arteries, and they're good for me.
Snap.
Group will take care of you up there. Just such a fun group. Tim, Rob, Holly, Whitney, Darian, Cheyenne, Dylan, and Cooper at 16524 Manchester Road. Eat local, drink local, and love local. It is the Local House Bistro, and it is time for Quick Hits, Mr. Keith Farrell.
Yeah, well, I was watching a little bit of WNBA highlights over the weekend and saw Caitlin Clark take a poke in the eye and a nice little hip check to the floor. And when is the WNBA going to send out that memo that you can't mess with the treasure chest? And I mean, where would the WNBA be without Caitlin Clark? Nobody knows, but where would the WNBA or where would the NBA be without Michael Jordan? You know, if they treated Michael Jordan that way, there's legacy and generational NBA fans because of Michael Jordan. The WNBA has a chance to have legacy and generational fans because of Caitlin Clark. The NBA better do something about this nonsense now.
So does that mean that what Cunningham did last night, is she the Dennis Rodman?
Seems like every team has one. You know, I mean, I had to look up who they played last night. I've never heard of Connecticut's Sun. I was thinking Phoenix Sun, the Arizona Sun, Connecticut. That's dumb. I mean, the WNBA, it's a joke of a league. I mean, it has been a joke of a league. It's going to be the joke of the world once that league collapses because of what they've done to their most marketable player and perhaps the most influential time in the league history.
Indeed. Mr. Sellers, what do you have for us?
Well, I was going to go with, stay with the women's sports and talk about some of the crazy NIL money that is getting floated around for women's college softball. I mean, you had $1 million pitcher from Texas Tech in the College World Series, and then they have since gone out and through some billionaire oil alumni that played for Mike Leach. I mean, there's the history, as well as Patrick Mahomes, I'm sure, and his wife, because they were there at the College World Series. They have formed, and they're getting any portal transfer they want. They're getting all these, from travel softball. I mean, it's getting a little crazy. So I think it's getting to a point where, are you going to have enough positions, especially on a softball field, for all these players? I mean, you're talking 9 women basically playing, and I think that will get interesting. And, I was reading an article and kind of what Keith said. I mean, this is happening, but they say, it's not just happening in softball, it's happening in your football and basketball, and NIL money is getting crazy. So, I don't know. I know you guys talk about it every week, and it's getting there.
Yeah, the House ruling that came down, I guess, a few days ago now, is going to be really interesting. Kind of the semi salary cap, $20 million to each school, and then they'll leave it up to each school to kind of fight over who gets which program at each school gets how much money. But that was, exactly what you said, Joe Sperlin's like, and that'll be the end of the $1 million softball pitchers right there.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. So for my quick hit, I'm keeping it close to home here. And while the St. Louis Cardinals are doing better this year, the attendance, it was better during that Dodger series, Keith. It was pretty much you'd look at it and you'd say, wow, this is kind of like the old days. But unfortunately, we can't look at just one series. So we have to look at the whole season. And right now, the St. Louis Cardinals are 13th in baseball in attendance. They're averaging 30,077 people. And you say, okay, well, gee, how does that compare? Let's go back not that far to 2023, which was a really bad season. 40,994, and they finished second in the major leagues. So 40,994 to 30,000. So that's 10,000 people in a matter of a couple of years here. 2024, this is when, the bottom started to drop out. 2024 last year, 35,000. And so now another 5,000. So attrition is happening there. And obviously, people tell me that it's very strange when you go to like an upper level and you see like food places and restaurants and things like that closed.
Yeah. Well, Ron, the other day, we were talking. It used to be if you went to one of those event nights, first 20,000. I mean, you got there early. I mean, you had to be one of the first 20,000, and now, first 20,000 over 16 years old or however it may be. I mean, you might be walking in 7:00 for a 7:05 game. I mean, it's
it's and not to mention, if you go on the secondary market for pretty much anything, you can get under face value.
Yeah.
So, and to that point, Brendan Donovan is the only Cardinal in the top 5 at any position in all-star balloting. And of course, now that you can vote on your phone, that's not as significant. Attendance doesn't play the significant a role as it used to, but still. With that, let's just go right into our first topic, which just so happens to be the St. Louis Cardinals, Keith. They're with the rain out tonight in Chicago, they sit at 38-35, 7 games behind Chicago. And like we said, a little bit of a split personality. They had that streak in May where they went 14-3, and we were all having visions of grandeur. But outside of that 14-3, they're 24-32. And in May, great month, 19-8. Otherwise, 19-27. So what do we have here?
We have an inconsistent baseball team. I think that's what they're trying to figure out. And I was appreciative that this was a transitional year for the Cardinals. And I don't think the Cardinals know what they have. When you look at, my opinion, one of the most, the Tyler O'Neill of the 25 roster, and Nolan Gorman, I just don't think you can have guys that are batting sub 220 in multiple spots in that lineup and win games. I don't think you can have and again, this is the eyeball test looking at Lars Nootbaar in that leadoff spot. He's trying to hit the arch with every swing of the bat. And I don't think that's healthy and he's pulling off. Everyone sees it. He doesn't even cover this. He doesn't even cover the plate when he swings the bat. And I'm mortified that this team is just on that decline, and do you see it stopping, Ron? Do you see it stopping, Jason? I don't see it.
I will tell you really quickly before we get into that. Nootbaar is 5. Before last night, he was 5 for his last 44 with 19 strikeouts. And since Joe Sperlin isn't here, I'll say it. That's not good.
That's not a table setter. No. The identity of this team this year was to kind of figure things out. And then everyone has a little bit more slack than they did last year, but it's supposed to be more relaxed. I think John Mozeliak, and I've been an apologist for him for a long time, but the state of this franchise and the state of mediocrity inside this lineup, it's on his shoulders 100%. And, that's the reason you're seeing, 20,000 people at a baseball game on a weeknight. I mean, I think you can hand out gold bars at the front with John Mozeliak's face imprinted on them, and people would pass it up for the handout.
You had me until gold bars. I was there until you threw in the Mozeliak part. So Jason, here's a puzzler for you. The whole thing this year was about runway. Let's find out what we've got with Victor Scott. Let's find out what we've got with Jordan Walker. Let's find out what we've got with Nolan Gorman. And then all of a sudden, hey, we're in the wild card chase. So are those two things compatible? Can you chase the playoffs and yet give young people runway at the same time?
I think it's very challenging. I think you can. I don't think they will. That's the problem. I mean, and then I start worrying about the psyches, and it's the yips in golf, it's the psyche in baseball, and those kind of things. And I mean, you got Jordan Walker. I mean, I can't tell you. I mean, it almost be comical to play a drinking game of how many times he's been put down to Memphis, how many times he's been called back up, how many bobblehead nights he's had, probably in Memphis as well as in St. Louis. I mean, you start to almost feel sorry for the guy because he's obviously a physically gifted young man. And, he is a talent. There's no doubt. It's just, but you got to give him some time. And then, I've been kind of amazed by that. And then you turn to Victor Scott, and I've been to games, and it's like Victor Scott's batting 117 and still starting, still giving opportunities. And, and maybe, Ron, there's your answer. You can for some, but you have, when you have such a young team, you can't for the whole team. So you got to pick and choose. Okay, we can do it for Scott. We can't do it for Walker. We can do it for Wynn. We can't, I don't know. I mean,
yeah, and where it gets to a point that at least I want to pull my hair out is, right now this team is 3 games over 500, and JJ Weatherholt is destroying baseballs all over the place at AA, and JJ is about the same age as Mason Wynn. Okay, there are some that are suggesting, hey, he could probably be up here by the end of the year, and then there's Thomas Saggese, who was like batter of the month in the International League. Keith, did you hear he hit a 3-run home run and had 2 more hits last night?
Let's keep him down there, see what he can do. Yeah, he needs to prove himself that he can play baseball. He was out of position on a throw from right field, and so he needs to get a little more seasons in the infield. Yeah.
And I heard people today on another podcast saying, well, gee, you just don't have a position to play him. And I'm thinking, you're 3 games over 500. It's not like we have the 27 Yankees here. It's not like there are people who we can't displace.
Yeah.
You need base runners. You need people to cross that diamond-shaped thing where the pitcher throws the ball, and you need people to get on base. I can't for the life of me. I just reviewed the batting averages up to date right now for the Cardinals. Batting average for Lars Nootbaar, 223.
Yeah.
Before Sajasi went down, 341. Did you know that?
Well, like you said, he's a liability somewhere. And turn him into Ben Zobrist. I mean, rest someone once a day for 7 days, and I don't know.
Well, Donovan can barely find a spot.
Yeah,
because Gorman's taken those at bats too. And for the life of me, why you commit to this guy?
Well, but Gorman has shown a pulse lately. I mean, he's had some good at bats. He's hit some clutch home runs, dare I say.
Wow. I will take you out. Yeah.
Contreras stole home the other day. What more do you want, Keith? Come on.
That's true.
I'll take heart and effort every single day. A guy who has no clue what he's doing at the plate, get him off my team. And
it's Glenn Brummer all over again.
Yeah. Oh, that's a guy to have on the show, Ron.
Glenn Brummer.
I had a night out with him. It was epic. It was a fun night.
It was epic.
And join us for our new series, The Sportists After Dark.
Well, not that kind of night, Ron. Come on. I'm happily married.
Things we'll edit out. Okay. Yes. So, to kind of close out here, Jason, as our you'll step in for Joe this week as our MLB correspondent at large. What else is going on in the non-Cardinal world of baseball?
Well, you got the beanball game of last night with Tatis and Ohtani and Dave Roberts getting booted, and what was the total count? I think 4 in the end, and so that's kind of interesting. And here I pulled up some interesting things, some stats of baseball through this year, and here's the answer to the Cardinals' woes. More Rockies games, like you guys talked about. I think it was a week or two ago. You need more Rockies because they're on a pace for 126 losses this year. They're going to beat the White Sox of last year. I mean, it's bad. But some other things that I think go again to what Keith said. So Keith you must have read my notes, but the overall K percentage this year is 22%. Last year was 22.6. But here's the most interesting one to me when you really dig down on that. 1981. So what's happening in 1981?
Strike.
Pitchers are hitting.
Oh,
right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
12.5% was the overall strikeout rate. Pitchers were hitting. Yeah, they were maybe bunting, and Earl Weaver was rolling over in his grave, Ron. But they were probably sacrifice bunting some. But anyway, I thought that was interesting. 2 other quick hits. Ohtani is on a pace for 160 runs scored this year. Is that insane?
Unbelievable.
Unbelievable. And then this one really blew my mind. Aaron Judge's batting average on balls in play.
I'm going to guess
454.
Oh,
that's insane. So the one that I put in the Sportist chat, Keith, I don't know if you saw this, and mathematically, this is just mind blowing. He has raised his career slugging percentage 11 points this season.
that's incredible.
That's mind blowing.
He's an animal, and he's a true Bronx bomber for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My fun stat before we leave baseball is, and Saris wrote something about this in The Athletic. The baseball is flying 4 feet shorter this year.
Yeah.
On similarly hit balls, the ball is flying 4 feet shorter. And then, okay, if you want for your head to further explode on that, yet the number of home runs and the number of runs scored are the same.
It kind of makes you wonder what the batting average is with that new, was it torpedo bat?
Yeah.
That'd be an interesting stat to chase too.
Right. We haven't heard as much about the torpedo bat.
Well, McCutcheons was complaining, a week or so ago on the stitches and how they're different, even though it's the same number of stitches, but it's just a different in the ball. Yeah. So
that's interesting.
Probably in the New Jersey mud. If you've watched the series, it's the New Jersey mud that determines it all.
Yeah, that they rub up the balls with. And there was a shout out again to my hometown of Ava, Missouri, but there was a Rawlings plant. And Jason, I think you might remember this. One of the years of what they called the rabbit ball when it was jumping out of the park.
Yeah.
There was a revolution in Haiti where they stitched the balls, and the theory went that people there were nervous about the revolution, so they were stitching the balls tighter, so they were harder. You remember this? So the balls were flying farther. I can't make this stuff up. I actually wish I could.
You can't with baseball. No, you can't.
No. So it's time for a new feature on the St. Louis Sportists. And Keith, this is dedicated to you. Keith was getting ready to get out of town for his trip to Vegas a few weeks ago with his lovely wife to celebrate what we'll just call a milestone birthday. That's for you, Amy, a milestone birthday.
Not 49, not 51, but a milestone.
Yeah. Now, Keith, I wasn't going to do that. It could have been 30.
I wasn't supposed to say, okay. All right.
Shoot.
Wasn't 30, wasn't 40, wasn't 60.
That's the second thing I'm editing out this week. Okay. And you kept saying that you had to tie up loose ends, which we suggested was soprano-ish. So it's time for our first edition of Loose Ends, where we're just going to cover a bunch of things here in fairly quick fashion. So last night, Keith, those Florida Panthers, Stanley Cup #2 in a row.
One name, Matthew Tkachuk, has totally changed that franchise around. Carried that franchise on their back, changed the culture, changed the locker room. Boy, would he look nice in a St. Louis Blues uniform. Damn.
Is Paul Maurice a Hall of Famer now?
Yes.
Jason?
Yes.
Think so? Yeah, I do too. Jackie Redmond might be too. Jackie Redmond and Paul Maurice are becoming the new Craig Sager and Popovich, I think. Those two are fun to watch.
Yeah.
All right. Loose end #2, the U.S. Open. We've all hit, 61-foot putts to win a major, right?
Mm-hmm.
Nothing to it.
Nothing. I will say that it was so refreshing watching that because it's my golf game. It's the 3-foot flub shot out of the rough, like on every municipal golf course. I love it. I just think I think if the players played on a local municipal golf course where the greenskeeper or the guy who cuts the grass calls in sick for a couple days, that's your U.S. Open tough stuff out there. So I like seeing the 600-yard par or 630-yard par 5. I like seeing the 300-yard par 3. I just loved it. I think your opening was the greatest line at Omaha 1 for sure.
I did steal that from some guy on KMOX, by the way. Jason, I say if we do that, we put a live mic on, either Shane Lowry or McIlroy. Which would you, or both? What do you think?
Both would be good, but definitely Rory would be, it would have been fun to listen to everything he had to say.
So he said he's earned the right to ignore the press. Do you think he was having, we all have our bad days. Was he having a bad day?
Yes. Going into Friday or Sunday, tied for 49th. He's had a couple bad days. I would say so. Enough to get a net jet. Yeah. The NBA, the finals are going on, so I've been told, and The Athletic had a story that even people associated with the NBA say that the finals are no longer as special as they once were, and they point to the fact that when they did the mid-season tournament, Jason, they had those funky courts and everything, and they made a big deal about that, and now it's like you look out at it and it's like a bunch of corporate stuff, and it just doesn't really feel like the finals. Agree, disagree?
Agree. I mean, the biggest NBA news is the Lakers.
Yeah.
What is it? $10 billion. And that's, you do understand that's only for 85%. What I read was Jeannie Buss still in the Buss family or trust or however is not only going to be on the governing board, but still have 15% ownership. So that's 85% they paid the most of any sports franchise in the U.S.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, basketball's in bad shape. Really
It's
is.
in bad shape.
It
I,
is.
I don't think the college games helping it either. I mean,
Well, speaking of the college game, the Mizzou schedule came out, or at least a snippet of the Mizzou schedule came out, Keith Farrell. And the Kansas Jayhawks and the Mizzou Tigers will face off in Kansas City, Missouri on Pearl Harbor Day. It's 12-7. Notre Dame on 12-2. That's going to be quite a little stretch there for
it'd be tough.
the Tigers. Yeah, and then, of course, the bragging rights game. Usual slot there, 12-22. Thoughts on the Tigers this season and those early games, Keith?
Well, you got some nice warm up games when you when you see SEMO on the schedule, but yeah, I think after they were an exciting team last year, and there's no reason to think that they're going to be a little bit better this year, and come November and December, and you start getting those bigger games on the schedule, we'll start seeing what kind of season we're going to have. Every team is so different year over year because of the portal, because of the early entries into the draft. And I just think Dennis Gates, I really do believe in his coaching style, and I think it works. And this is going to be the test. We'll see how he does early on.
Yeah. And with that, we have tied up our loose ends. I need to find a sponsor. I'd like to approach Waste Management. Wouldn't that be, kind of a woke up this morning, got myself a gun kind of? That just seems like it. When we come back, we are going to take a look at Klaus Comes Alive for St. Louis City, not to be confused with Frampton Comes Alive. And we're also going to take a look at things going on in college, including the College World Series, which right now we've got a stem winder or a barn burner going on up in Omaha. But first, we're going to talk a little bit about First Coast Steel Buildings, and we're giving Sandra the week off since we got Jason right here. So, Jason, how are things going at First Coast Steel Buildings?
Going great. Yeah.
That's outstanding. Now, you and I were just talking one day about the time between when you design a project, when you first discuss it, and when it is actually complete, and it kind of blew my mind. Can you walk folks through that timeline?
I think what people don't understand on these new what we call cold form galvanized steel buildings, that we are able to get them through engineering in a week or less, and then production time is about 2.5 to 3 weeks. So, you and I could be talking tonight, Ron, and I could literally have a building on the ground for you before July 17th. I mean, and if you've, and again, with that engineering, you get the full foundation plans for the First Coast Steel Building. So you're pouring the concrete's ready to go. You're erecting that building on the 17th of July. And, depending on what you're doing, you're parking your car in there, you're putting your shed together, you're building your house, whatever it may be. And so I think, yeah, I remember that conversation. You were like, you've got to be, so yeah, it's very fast. But again, the other thing that I think, we try not to, that's all at the end. I mean, I think one of the things that we try to do at the beginning is they are so tailored to what specific needs you have. You and I talked about kind of a she shed and bar. We've worked on some projects lately that were, a 2-story house. We've worked on one that was an airplane hangar, one that's a hunting lodge. I mean, you name it. I mean, these buildings are very versatile and have all kinds of options available to customize it to what you're really specifically looking for.
Well, that sounds outstanding. And if people want to catch up with you and First Coast, how can they do that?
Phone number is 912-314-4848. So just call and ask for, myself. And then, one of the other ways is you can always email me at jason@firstcoast. That's the number 1 stcoaststeel.com. And you can also check out our website, which again is www.firstcoast, again, 1ststeel.com. So.
Well, thank you for that. And we are delighted to have you as part of this podcast. By the way, you've been with us since the very beginning, and we appreciate that very much.
Well, I'm very happy to be. Yeah, it was always exciting to kind of come in and see what you guys have done and how it's grown. And I love listening to it and love being a sponsor. And, it's always it's kind of exciting for me as a business owner to be able to say, I'm always number one. I'll always be the first with them. So that's exciting.
Indeed. Ground floor. Jason, thank you very much. We appreciate that. And we are back in the Local House Bistro studio. That was Jason Sellers. Keith Farrell also with us tonight. And the College World Series is taking place in Omaha, Nebraska, or as I would say as an LSU fan, Geauxmaha. There are shirts, Keith. I can get a shirt that says that.
There's Geauxmaha. That's awesome.
So pretty interesting so far. We've seen a no-hitter, Jason.
Oh, my gosh. We didn't just see a no-hitter. We saw a dominant pitching performance, an amazing pitching performance. College baseball is, Keith, going off of what you said the other day, I mean, college baseball to me now is that what college basketball used to be, and it has just really become, I mean, guys, I'm going to tell you some stuff here. Murray State. I mean, have we seen their field 850 people and they make it to the College World Series? No Texas, and I'm a Texas fan, but no Texas, no Vanderbilt. We got Murray State. Have you seen their hats are cool. I'm a hat guy, as you can tell. Have you seen the hat with the horseshoe and the jockey in the middle? Awesome. I want to get I'm getting a Murray State hat. I am.
Awesome.
But I mean, you've got Murray State. You've got LSU bringing a $15,000 fiberglass 30-foot tiger on a trailer and hauling it around Omaha. And I mean, but you get all these conferences. I mean, let's talk about Coastal Carolina. So, Ron,
they scare me.
You've been to the College World Series?
I have not been. No, I've watched it since '81 religiously.
I've been there a couple of different times. So let me give you, if I can, if you'll let me, I'll give you some. Let me tell you a great quiz question. I'll ask it to you two. Who was the team that won the last College World Series at Rosenblatt and the first College World Series at TD Ameritrade? So back to back.
The Florida Gators.
I was going to say Miami.
South Carolina Gamecocks.
Oh, I knew that.
Okay, but so now we go to some interesting things. So we talked about Murray State. Coastal scares me. The only other time Coastal was in here is 2016. What did they do? They won. Let me tell you this. I've been to Coastal Carolina Stadium multiple times. My son went to a couple of baseball camps there. He plays college baseball now. So beautiful stadium. I know you're an LSU fan, Ron, but I'm going to tell you a great story there. If you don't know about Gary Gilmore, he had to retire after almost 30 years, cancer. They've kind of dedicated it to him.
Right.
And then, Ron, I just got to say, there 26 straight games. So, Keith, I need you to write this name down because this is for you in your gambling. You need to go and find the College of Charleston coach, Chad Holbrook. If you haven't heard, when he was the last team to beat them in April, and he beat them like, I want to say, and I read it, I think it was 2 or 3 times this year. He beat him a little bit in the Sun Belt. But he said to the coach, he walked up and he said after that, he goes, "You guys are so good, you won't lose another game this year." And they have not since. So, Keith, I need you to write that name down. You may need to make a trip to Charleston for some lottery numbers, for some,
Chad Holbrook. I will track him down.
So I will give you an update right now. We are at the top of the 8th with 1 out. LSU is leading Arkansas 2-1.
I hate to break the news.
What will happen is...
Yeah, I do too.
What? Did something...
I hate to break that.
There's something just happened?
Chad Holbrook just called and said that there's going to be a change in the score.
Yeah. Okay. I haven't seen it yet. Okay. Ron, you got a different score?
Arkansas just lost a run on an LSU challenge, but anyway, there's lots of action coming your way, Jason. I won't spoil it for you.
There you go. Okay.
If you're a betting man, I would put a couple runs on Arkansas right now.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah, but I will tell you that one of the things about the College World Series, and Jason, as a seasoned veteran, you know this, the management of the pitching staff is just so, talk about five-dimensional chess when you're using your best starter as a reliever. And, then you've got, as I was talking, Jamie and I were discussing at happy hour, and I'm like, and then you've got like a Thursday night freshman that suddenly has to come in and pitch with the entire season on the line and the bases loaded. It just creates some amazing moments.
Oh, amazing. Yeah. Yeah, it really does. It
So
really does.
if you get a chance to see any of the College World Series, and it goes through this weekend, actually, that's when your finals start, your best of three. It's really some high drama and some good stuff. Oh, and I will point out, here's my one stat before we leave this. LSU has they did start for the eighth time 2-0 in the College World Series. They won the title 6 of the previous 7. Keith, is that what you gamblers would call a trend?
I would call that a trend. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Now, can I ask you one question on the? You like the 2 out of 3 series at the end versus?
I do. I do.
Because they had. I'm trying to think what year it was. Was it mid? I want to say it was in the mid '80s where they had the one team come through the loser bracket, win one game, win the championship, and I like the 2 out of 3. I like it in the women's softball, and I like it in the men's College World Series.
I think it's almost like the real World Series because it's like, okay, who cares if I think about your Cardinals back in like 06 or even the 11 teams that won like 82 games. Guess what? When you get to the World Series, it should like all start over again.
Yep.
Just my thoughts on that. Keith, a team far from postseason, despite your initial prediction that we were discussing yesterday, is St. Louis City. Although they did play one heck of a thrilling game this last Saturday.
It was thrilling. It was frustrating. Klaus came to life. But my biggest takeaway is, boy, does coaching matter in soccer.
Oh, my goodness.
There's 2 different teams, 2 different directions. And this one's a little bit more exciting when they actually score a couple goals in a game. But I can't help but think that Klaus, as good as a game as he had, as good as a game as he had, 3 goals, couple really good goals, especially that third goal at the end there. The way he flopped and rolled around on the ground at the very end of the game, and the referee decided to end the game on that flop, pissed me off. I think if you look at the character of this team, it's obviously going to go with who's scoring, who's playing well, who's got the attitude, who's got the winning attitude. And to see him flop at the end of the game was, I think, a hyperbole for the season. It was the season. Like, we score, we flop, we score, we flop. And I can't get that out of my mind, Ron. There were some great takeaways, but they also gave up a lead. They also, they, for all intents and purposes, should have lost that game with a 2-0 and a 1-0 against the goaltender that they missed. It just.
Well, and it's funny because I had my same note here from last week, and it was very easy to update. So all I had to do was add 1 to both of them. St. Louis City has now allowed 10 goals in the last 8 games in the 70th minute or later, and they have allowed 5 goals in the 83rd minute in the past 5 games. 83rd minute or later in the past 5 games. The one thing that terrified me just a little bit, Keith, is and this was an interview I saw on Channel 4 that night. And Klaus said, my confidence is back to here. And he was like about 30%. And he's like, I want to get my confidence back to, he's like, after today, I think it's back to about 50%. And, I want to get it back to 100%, which had me thinking, what did Mellberg do to these guys?
I don't know. Some Swedish doo-doo. It's a great point. I think we were all scarred from last year when the defense just broke. It just broke.
Yeah.
And they couldn't score. And so I think Mellberg went in there, and he's a legend with Aston Villa for being a defensive backfielder there, and he brought in his, Lutz was, and Lutz brought in a defensive guy to fix the defense, and we had a couple clean sheets, but they had goals were accidental on that team in the first half of the season so far. And so, and let's face it, Klaus, I mean, they had some opportunities, but this team just lacks finishers, and you need that to win soccer games.
Yep. Keith, am I ahead of you, or did you just see that?
I just saw it.
I see it.
LSU has just tied the game with a home run in the bottom of the 8th. That's the first baseman, by the way.
Yeah.
You'll be seeing him. You'll be seeing Mr. Jared in the major leagues.
When's the draft? Is the draft coming up?
July 11th-ish.
Oh my God. These guys were normally drafted. They used to put their stats, that's crazy.
I think they pushed it back, and Jason, you may have some intel on this. They, like a lot of the college guys, they really did so little in that first year. They're like, you know what, let's go ahead and push it back because they're really not going to do anything. Yeah. And even the high school kids, they wanted them to take time off in that first year.
Good.
Well, they've cut it down how many rounds too.
True.
So
True. So Keith, then City takes a little bit of a break right now. Thank goodness.
Mm-hmm.
And so I have been impressed with the new coaching. They're looking to score. David Critchley, I want to see more of this guy.
Me too. I again, you look at the direction that this team plays, and there is no doubt that it's a more exciting brand to watch on the field. Not that the team's in jeopardy of losing season tickets, but all the City has to do is look a few blocks down the street at Busch Stadium to see what attendance is looking like. If you don't put a winning product and or exciting product at least on the field, it's just unsustainable. But
there'll be a red dot on the golden goose.
Right. So yeah, he definitely has. It's kind of actually cool to see the City 2 coach come up and lead this team. Okay. And he's had great success with City 2. And I certainly hope that that translates to, a full-time job for the guy.
You remember, Jason, Earl Weaver was called up from the Baltimore AAA team to manage the Orioles.
True. Yeah.
We're on an Earl Weaver kick here lately.
I've heard.
Yeah.
So the the one that we put in the in one of our chats yesterday was the famous Ross Grimsley quote when Weaver went out and Grimsley was just getting shelled, and Weaver said, "If you know how to cheat, I would strongly advise you to start now." So, on that note, we have reached the last call, brought to you by the Local House Bistro. Mr. Farrell, what do you have for us for a last call?
Well, I'm going to top it off with the NHL season ending on June 17th. I was reading the other day that there's a rule proposal out there to have the season, to have a less preseason and end the season before June 1st. It's tough to watch hockey in the middle of June. So let's just get her done, boys. Let's get the games done by the end of May. And no one watches preseason hockey either. It's a bad ticket to buy.
It's foisted upon season ticket holders, and I think it's kind of silly when they go play a game in Springfield or, wherever.
Get the boys on the ice in October. Get the boys off the ice in May.
You know what? And then you know what you could do that would add some common sense? You could move the draft up. You could move free agency up. You could All those things.
All those
All
things.
those. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And well, what about and then keep the All-Star game off the ice and just do a Four Nations tournament again?
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome.
Everyone's trying to rip off the Four Nation.
Yeah. So. They can't do it.
Jason, what do you have?
Okay. Well, I know I'm a sponsor, but here you go.
Da, 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 da.
So here's the deal. So don't forget, not just as a sponsor, but I will be on assignment in 73 days.
Mm-hmm. By the way, for those of you on the podcast, Jason has just donned a Texas Longhorn football jersey.
Arch Manning jersey.
An Arch Manning jersey.
My son and I will be at The Ohio State for Lee Corso's last college game.
Way to go.
History.
Fox noon kickoff will be there as well, the big show. And I think it will be maybe the game of the year to start the year. So I will be on assignment for you guys, and we'll have a live report, and it'll be fun.
Is Arch going to be starting that game?
Oh, yeah.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. So,
and the timing of the game was dictated by the fact the Ohio State AD needed to go to church, as I read.
The Texas AD, actually.
Or it was the Texas AD. Okay.
Yeah.
That's some interesting influence in Ohio.
Yeah. So I will be there. I'll be on assignment, and I will let you guys know how it goes. So
we look forward to that. And if you remember the old when Al Franken was on Saturday Night Live and had to wear that giant antenna on his head, maybe we'll set you up with something like that so you can send the.
There you go. I mean, I'm right. Our tickets are in the end zone, looking at the open end of the shoes. So
outstanding.
That'd be great.
That's going to be quite the experience.
Don't wear that jersey though. Don't wear that jersey. It might get a stain or two on it.
No.
For your own safety. That's it. For your own safety.
Yeah. So that's my last hit. So thank you again for letting me be here. And
Absolutely. So for mine, since it is the last call, which does involve alcohol, I am going to one of the great LSU College World Series traditions. There is a place in Omaha called Rocco's Pizza and Cantina. And every year, Rocco's Pizza and Cantina has a Jell-O Shot challenge, is what they call it. It's $5, and they have an old school whiteboard where they keep track of Jell-O shots bought by people from every team. And LSU has a history of just not winning, but like destroying everyone. And so I looked up the standings as of 2 hours ago. LSU, 22,587 Jell-O shots. The next closest, Murray State, 7,833.
Maybe the horseshoe and the jockey. There you go, man.
So 22,000 to 7,000 is your current. And by the way, the Rocco's this is actually part of, believe it or not, every Jell-O shot purchased is something that works toward a donation to a food bank. So this is actually, I wonder if LSU fans write this off. But as though LSU fans needed any help on Monday, they had a couple of their more famous alums, Mr. Paul Skeens and his girlfriend Levy Dunn were there on Monday. They said Paul was at the whiteboard in real time updating the totals, and Livy was out passing Jell-O shots around. And I just want to say, as a philanthropic person who cares about my fellow man, I would have taken a Jell-O shot from Livy Dunn.
There you go.
I think that's the least I could do to help.
Philanthropic. That's how you call it.
Keith, since Ron brought him up, to make you feel better too, one of the other stats I saw was Paul Skeens' first 38 starts, his ERA is 136, but think what it is against the Cardinals. So see, there you go.
Yeah, I'll take it. Yeah, he's fun to watch.
And
puts
the Cardinals have his number.
It's like in the stands. Yeah, I went to the Cardinal Authentic shop after we went to a game to watch him pitch, and there was not a ball there was not. I wanted to get Paul Skeen's ball. I was going to go to Ron, and I thought it's thought that counts, right?
Absolutely.
And there was none to be allowed, none to be had.
Well, the Cardinals team shop, as Will Leach talked about on the most recent podcast. He's like, the jerseys are from last year. How do I know? Because they still have that very small font from last year. So anyway, as they say, improvement needed.
Yes.
And we hope that doesn't apply to this episode of the St. Louis Sportists podcast. We would ask that you would like, follow, and tell your friends and neighbors if this is something that you find worthwhile. Mr. Sellers, Jason, thank you for joining us. We appreciate you, sir. Keith Farrell.
Have a good night. We'll see you next week.
And we want to thank all of you for joining us on the St. Louis Sportists podcast. Until next week, take care.
And that wraps another episode of the St. Louis Sportists podcast. Please like and subscribe to stay up to date on all the latest episodes. You can find these guys on all major podcast platforms. And thanks for listening.